I am an 85-year-old World War II and Korean War veteran. Ask me anything.
I am actually doing this for my step-grandfather who's nearing his 86th birthday. He loves answering my and others' questions. He'll take 10 minutes to answer them. But I recently asked him one, to which he mentioned, "My memory is fading," and continued to give his answer. I have all but forgotten my question or his answer, but that side note he added struck a chord in me, and now I'd like to document this while at the same time doing something he would like. So ask away. More info on him if needed, as well as a picture if you guys and gals would like. Edit. The day is ending and I won't see him until tomorrow, but I'll make sure to ask him these great questions as soon as I can. Thanks.
Were you married when you went off to war? Did you get letters from home or anything like that? Do you have a favorite pinup girl from those years?
No, I was not. Yeah, I got letters. My mother couldn't write, but Helen did, his sister. She was the writer. For the pinup girl, yeah, I had somebody on the wall. She was an actress. It's hard for me to remember. I thought I would never forget. She was a movie star. I did a Google search for movie actresses in 1940s and Lauren Bacall was his pinup girl. Oh, how did you find her? Yeah, that was her. Lauren Bacall. I mentioned Ingrid Bergman. How did you get her name? Wow, you don't hear them say those names again. Only people my age.
Persian Gulf War vet here. First, tell him thank you. His generation actually saved the fucking world from evil, and that will never be forgotten, except by Snooki. I don't have a particular question. I would like to hear some of his memories, things that stick out, observations that he saw about the nature of war, or perhaps just a funny story between soldiers.
Well, one thing I will never forget is the time I got hit. I thought it was my whole arm. It moved my entire body, but it was actually my finger, hanging from the skin. My arm swung violently back, but it turned out to be just my finger.
Sir, did you feel like you were fighting the good fight back then when the whole country seemed to be behind you? And do you think you feel the same way about serving in today's conflicts overseas?
I think so, yay. Especially us guys. We were gung-ho. We wanted to mess up our enemy back then. I actually got more enemies. I had the Howitzer 105. It's a cannon. The bombs were about a foot long. We would pick them up and shove them in. It's kind of hard, but I think so. I had that instinct. If they messed with US.
What branch of the military did he serve, and in what division? Also, happy 86th.
I was in the 52nd Battalion, B Battery, Field Artillery. We would support the foot soldiers. In front of us, we were the smallest artillery, the 105, 115. You couldn't handle that by hand, but it took 7 soldiers to move it around, and a vehicle to move up, behind the hills, to shoot over the hill, where the enemies were. This is bringing me memories. It's taking me back there.
European theater or South Pacific?
South Pacific Theater, the 20th of October, 1944. That was a bad day. That was when most of the guys, they shipped us out. Mostly everybody got hurt, but I didn't. I returned to the States with all my friends. It wasn't until 6 years later, until the Korean War started, and here I go again. I remember it well, the 20th of June 1950. We hit Korea, yes, and we kept on going north. And we hit North Korea. It got really bad. We passed the NS border. It got bad. We got a lot of airmail. That's when a lot of air power was sent. That's what we used to call it. Bombs coming down from planes. Kept on going north, all the way up to Yalu River, North Korea.
I'd like to know a lot of the basics, then ask more based on that. Which branch of the service were you in? Where did you serve? What kind of action did you see?
I was in the Army, Artillery, 115 Howitzer, and in the infantry, but I've spent more time in the artillery, during the war and during the peacetime. I was in the Philippine Islands, and during the Korean War, mostly in the north of the country. The heaviest fighting I saw was in the Korean War. Being in the artillery, most of the artillerymen, especially the big guns, are way back behind the line, quite far, 5 miles 10 miles behind. A small cannon can be handled by hand. A gunner pulls the lanyard and it shoots it out. It took 2 guys to pack the gun. The shell would go as far as 7 miles. But since we were mobile, you could get pretty close to the enemy.
Do you think anyone today is hotter than Marilyn Monroe was?
No, Marilyn Monroe. She was the only one. Then the other girls came. They were just pinups.
I had one grandpa in World War II, and another in Korea. What was the reception from folks back home when you got back?
Well, it really depended. To me, I got a big reception. From my family, my neighbors, the ones I went to school with who didn't go to school. You go to war, you might not even hear a bullet. But when you're in the thick of it, it's something else. My mother knew where I was, what I was doing, because I wrote and told them. Although, we were received differently than the ones who didn't go to war. A red carpet for us really. But it depends, like I said. I don't know how it would be today. I hope you don't find out. In those days, you became 18. You were taken to the war.
First of all, thank you for your service, and thank you for your time answering our questions. It's very generous of you. Did you see things differently or think about things differently after your time in the war? If so, how? Would you say you learned anything from your time in the war? If so, anything you could share? When I wrote that, I was thinking more long life lessons and insights, but concrete knowledge would be interesting to hear about too. Thank you and happy birthday.
Then and today, well, yeah, in a sense that it has improved a lot as far as technology, weapons. You could fire much farther away. Nowadays you could be 40 miles away. Back then, everything had to be near. War is still war though.